Welcome back to the Men's Roundtable Series podcast. The gentlemen are here live and in full effect. 3/4 of them are really, really hot, and the other one is really, really cool. Guess which one is the cool one in this group? I'll give you a hint. Upper right corner of the Hollywood Square. How you guys doing? How you guys doing tonight? All's well beside the battle with temperature. You guys good, man? All's well in your neck of the woods?
It's terrific. The air conditioner still works. So that's it.
At this point, that's what we're holding on to, the hope of all hope that it doesn't go off.
Absolutely.
That's what's happening right now. Well, for you guys that are watching this for the very first time, first off, thanks for making us part of your week. We just completed a series for Men's Mental Health Month that brought us into a range of topics and a range of feelings and emotions and revelations and new things that we came to understand as wisdom and insights. For you guys, any specific takeaways, thoughts, or new understandings you got, conversations you've had with other men that surrounded what we were dealing with last month, in the month of June? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I would say one of my best friends in the world watches the show on a regular basis, and being open to going to therapy, I thought was a breakthrough for him. Listening at other stories of guys who have experienced turmoil and tribulation in life, and seeking the professional help that he heard us talk about. So it's a good first step, and I think it's going to have a positive impact on the lives of a lot of folks who may have been hesitant about going to seek therapy. So that's one of my biggest takeaways.
I love that, and we love that your friend watching the show. Thank you. Pass that on to your friend, please. We definitely appreciate your support. We could use it, so thank you for that. Anybody else?
I just got back from vacation, family reunion, right? And I was talking to my cousin's husbands because I have all female cousins on that side of the family, and these are guys I see once every couple of years, and they were just like blown away that we actually had a place where we were having conversations, like open conversations about the kind of things that men don't talk about normally. Like the fact that this platform exists, they're just like, I mean, it was just overwhelming. Like they couldn't even like put their thumb on it. They're like, wait, y'all just have these like real conversations? Like, yeah, we have these real conversations and help other men do the same thing. And they're both big, tough guys, and like they just can't believe there's actually a place for this where we're actually cracking that egg. So
I think that's amazing. I was hoping that people were catching on to that, but I hear you guys' testimonies. I'm like, wow, people, it hasn't spread as far as I thought. But I love hearing this. This is so encouraging, man. How about you, Scott? You want to drop anything out there?
Same thing. The fact that I still think it's in the culture, the zeitgeist. All the stuff you hear about, men don't talk about stuff like this. Real men don't cry. Real men don't talk about mental health. We ain't got no problems. We're all fine. And just the fact that it's a group of guys that we can come on and talk to each other and be honest and pick and play, but also talk about the real stuff and the real things that are going on, and not just push it away. I know when I talk to other men, it's at church or men's group or Bible study, it takes a little while to convince a lot of men that it's okay to talk about that stuff, even in a safe place, even with a safe group of men. We don't trust that a lot of times.
Yeah, there's no question. I don't know if you guys can, this wasn't where I was planning to go, but I love the impromptu because those are the best shows in my assessment. I don't know if you guys are familiar with people who do this, but I got a really big. I don't mean when I say personal struggle. I'm not talking about close friends, but I have a really big circle and range of people that I could potentially talk to, can talk with, and get support from, and get support to, that kind of thing. And the amount of people that either come through one of our shows that are being interviewed that I get to connect with and befriend, or people who I meet, I'm overwhelmingly surprised by the people who bow out of invitations to be a part of this. And I honestly, I know some people might say, "Oh, it's no big deal, it's normal." For me, I struggle with what will cause that to happen. I've seen some people who they didn't say it, but someone's like, "You know what? I need to ask my wife first." There's some that say they want to do it and then they just disappear. We had a gentleman that I invited. He was pumped, super pumped. Came on for helping us out in the moderation, and the man never came back, ghosting all messages and everything. I'm like, what happened? I mean, he was down, so he couldn't have been offended because he was calm and like crazy, dropping questions for us. It was helping drive the conversation. One of the best shows we had just disappeared. You got people who I know because I don't play poker, but you can be around folks long enough to kind of spot the tails. And you can tell where it's like, you know what, they're making excuses. They're spitballing right now, trying to find a way to not, commit to this. And I'm like, so I see all three of these things on a routine basis for the most part. I'm like, what would make somebody not want to be a part of the community? Even if you are cool with sitting in the back and not saying anything for a while, because that happens. And it's good, it's cool. But to just avoid it completely, it's like I'm shocked when people don't want to be a part of it. Not because we're doing it, but just because I don't see this anywhere else. And when people get down to it, especially men, I don't care if you're a husband, father, brother, or son, whatever classification you fall into, at the end of the day, when you drill it down deep enough, they say this is what they want. They say this is a community, they never had this. That's why they don't trust or they don't feel comfortable being transparent. And you have it. Brent's telling you about it. Stu's telling you about it. Scott telling you about it. And for some reason, it's like it's something that people still are hesitant to do. Are you guys seeing that in your circles too? Or is it just, you don't have a lot of time, so you talk to, who you can talk to and, getting 100% approval when you talk to these folks, 100% return rate? Are they tuning in or are they afraid to tune in? And somebody pressed the ducky again, didn't they?
They pressed the duck.
Man. We told you, man, don't stay away from the ducky. Don't touch the ducky.
I told you.
Exactly right.
Put tape over the duck. Put tape over the duck.
He was just illustrating, man. That's all.
Why are you touching the ducky? We talked about this.
Right. It wasn't a duck this time.
Okay.
You were just giving a good illustration of guys that want to duck out when they come to the thing, right?
Yeah,
That's what that was.
And the man did that in a big way at a very important emotional moment of the show. He said, "You know what? I'm going to just blip out and see how we pick the whole world up." So thank you for that. But I mean, go ahead, Scott.
I'm back.
I think I run into people that I talk about this kind of thing or being like, I'll share my story on a podcast or something. And people are always shocked whenever you kind of tell them the honest truth. It's like, yeah, I grew up with an alcoholic father. Yes, he abused drugs. Yes, I tried to commit suicide in my life. I just tell those things. And I say it matter of factly, and they're like, how can you talk about that? It's like, well, because it's true. It's part of who I am. It's part of what made me who I am. I'm not.
Yeah.
And I think for men, they love that idea, but it's scary to do it. And I think it's why it's so important that we do it, because it's kind of that, go first, right? Go do it first. And oh, look, Mr. Yu shared his story and he didn't die. Scott shared his story, he didn't die. So maybe I can. And I think sometimes people need to see it, especially men, over and over and over again before they believe it. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty cynical about the world, right? There's times where it's hard for me to remember that there is good in the world. I don't want to trust it sometimes because I've been burned before. So it's hard to open up and trust it. I think that's true for a lot of men.
The transparency, definitely appreciate it, man. Thanks for sharing that. That's a great perspective. Anybody else?
I think as far as with guests, there's transparency that you have to be able to jump into these conversations. And it becomes really obvious if you're lying or if you're trying to pretend, right? If you're wearing that mask we talk about, and they want to be brave enough to say it, but man, once you actually say it out loud on a platform like this, like it's there forever.
Yeah.
You have no control over the question that's coming up or how the conversation goes, right? I know a lot of people who will not jump into an interview if they don't know the questions that are coming or the general direction of the show, right?
You can't come on my show because nobody gets questions on my show.
Yeah, that's how my shows are. And it's like, nope, no one gets the question. But when you get trapped in something like that, then you get stuck in this awkward situation where you might actually have to say something real and uncomfortable.
Ooh.
And sure, you want to be seen as the person who will be real and transparent, but to actually be real and transparent, that's scary. Like everybody else say they are until they actually like get caught with their pants down. Then it's like, oh, look, this question is awkward. Right.
So what are you guys saying to these people? I don't really know what to say except to basically re-preach the message, re-share the vision of why we started this, and assure them that, you know what, I know safe space sounds kind of facetious because we're live and people can see it around the world, but men have been growing from this. I don't know what else to say. What have you guys been saying to people who are meeting your queries or your recruitment attempts with skepticism? What are you saying to them? How are you responding to this? Because I don't know what else to say besides what I've already been doing.
I just try to keep showing by my own example, exposing the things that I've been through to get to the point to where I am right now. And that doesn't mean that I'm done going through dealing with some of those struggles. And when they see somebody like the people that do choose to come on and share, who are willing to be vulnerable, they then kind of let their guard down. Them sharing their experiences may not be ready to do it on a platform like this. But internally amongst friends groups, I am seeing more dialogue and conversation of guys talking about some of the issues that come up on here, because it's okay to talk about the things that we're talking about, and it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
And knowing we're not living in this world in isolation is a huge part of creating camaraderie and brotherhood that some of our brothers really need, because they may not know how to be vulnerable, or they don't trust telling people the things that they've been through. So I just come from a standpoint of encouraging further conversation and dialogue. And it's I from my end, I see the positive results through the text messages and the emails that I get from people I haven't seen or heard from in 5-10 years. And they're like, dude, thank you for being willing to share your story, because I know I ain't going through it alone.
Okay, anybody else?
Man, I still travel in a lot of circles of, we don't talk about those things out loud. Like if you actually look at my friend circle, I definitely tend to travel in those circles still, where I've always made people uncomfortable because I find it fun to make people uncomfortable. So sharing the truth has always been easy for me because I like to make it awkward for people. But like the circle of friends around me, the people in my life on a regular basis, are still in a big way a part of that old school men's group We don't talk about feelings. We ain't got no stinking feelings. We don't talk about our problems out loud. Screw you all. Shut up, tough it out.
Oh, brother.
Right. Very, very much the boot camp answer of hydrate and knock out some push-ups. Will make it better.
Just rub some dirt on it. You'll be fine. Walk it off. Walk it off. It's a broken leg. I don't care. Walk it off.
I did push-ups with a broken leg, bro.
I walked around for 3 days with a collapsed lung. I got it. That's what
Right?
my wife calls that testosterone poisoning. I understand. You know, my wife's comment to me is, if I did that, you would be furious. And I'm like, once she started saying that, I started going, you know what? You're right. I would be. You know, I'd be mad at you for doing it. Why am I doing it to you? But it's helped some. Not completely, but it's helped some.
I'm me and she's her.
Yeah, well. Mr. You, I think all you can do is open the door. Whether people walk through it or not is really up to them. And not everybody's ready to walk through the door yet. And that's okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's okay. But I think having some people inside the room on the other side of the door going, hey, it's fine in here. You know, you can come on in. You know, we're here. We got the chairs for you. You know, we got some cookies in the corner and there's some punch. Let's go. You know, let's that's all you can do is kind of make it a welcoming environment and then keep the door open and see if people want to come through it. Because, you know, I didn't go through that kind of door for a long time. I wasn't comfortable about talking about how I grew up and who I was and what I think. And yeah, I didn't, you know, I was the rub some dirt on it guy for forever, you know. It's like it's not until really the last, I don't know, 10 years or so that I've started being more comfortable talking about it, admitting I have feelings and all of that.
Love it. The premise for what we were going to start fleshing out for tonight was about the version of us that the world doesn't see. I know that's that by itself it can spawn so many things, and I get that. I'm good with it. I'm open to it tonight. Definitely want you guys to help steer that conversation for us and with us, but that's kind of where we want to go. You know, I feel like there is, you know, people, I heard it mentioned a couple of times tonight, you know, about, you know, the perception that we don't have feelings, and I feel like we crushed that significantly enough over recent weeks to, you know, let folks know who had any doubts. You know what, men do have feelings. We just show ours differently.
Mm-hmm.
Ours is not sobbing in a corner, burning through a whole box of Kleenex. That's not what we're doing. But we do have emotions. We do cry. We do feel. I cried on this show, and I have no regrets about it one single iota. It was nothing that I thought was too much or extra. It was deep feelings, and a lot of it was because I'm so proud of you guys. I'm proud of the way you guys have been growing. When we started this late last summer, I'll be real. I have been real about it. My hopes have been, you know what? Hopefully in a year, these guys will start opening up. That was my business plan. In 12 months, by then, these guys should be ready to start having some meaningful conversations. Y'all boys broke through that thing way before the gestation period even started. Y'all broke through that thing in less than a month, and y'all were out here being transparent and real, and it resonated, and people responded to it. So I got no problem with that, but I just realized that there is a hidden emotional life for a lot of men. I'm talking to them. I'm interviewing them. I'll be honest, they're watching right now. They may say, "Oh, I'm about to pull the curtain back." And I'm not trying to do that. But man, you learn so much about folks when you interview and when you plan, when you research, and when you talk to them and hear their answers, especially the spontaneous one, like Brent and I were discussing a little earlier. When you hear those answers and stuff breaks through. I mean, I thought I was Oprah for in the past 3 months because people are crying on my show routinely. And I'm like, I'm not trying to even make them cry. I'm not asking a question to make them cry. But they're busting out crying for the past 3 months on the show. Right there on YouTube, you can see it. It's not even hidden anymore. It's right there. You take the time to watch, you can see it. And I'm like, what's happening right now? But there is a hidden emotional life that all men, and I mean that specifically, we can't get around that. All of us have that. There are things we want people to know about, and there's things we don't want folks to know about from an emotional standpoint. There's a private version. Some of it's hidden under performance. Some of it's hidden under humor. I know some friends that they joke so much. I'm like, man, you must be really hurting deep down. You must be Robin Williams level hurting right now, because this person jokes all the time. I'm like, dude, you ain't ever serious about anything. That's kind of a problem, you know. And they hide it under feats of physical strength, lifting in the gym or whatever it is, you know, just making grunt noise and whatnot.
Hey, now.
Being a lung hater and whatnot. And it's like, there's so many ways that we try to keep that emotional stuff private, but I want to kind of get into it a little bit, kind of talk through what that looks like and the cost for compartmentalizing that kind of emotion. For you guys, man, and I thought we could come back to what I was talking about earlier, but I want to ask a question a little bit. What does release for you look like? Because you have emotions, we already established that. You guys can blow up like anybody else can because you're human. You got pressures, you got stress, you have anxieties that some linger, some just might come and go, but you deal with that kind of stuff on a regular basis. What does release look like for you guys? If you guys are watching and listening today, in the comment section, drop your comments there, drop your thoughts if you can do that. What does release look like for you as a man? How do you release the tension? And I mean, if you're gonna talk about something sexual, just don't get graphic about it. We get it, all right? We're men, we have wives, and we get it, all right? So just kind of just answer those questions, you know, with a modicum of respect, if you don't mind. But go ahead. What does release look like for you guys from an emotional standpoint?
For me, it's yard therapy, is what I call it. I get out in my yard and I rake and pick up leaves and sticks, watch the squirrels and the birds chase each other. That's my escape. It's my safe place where I get deep in my thoughts about the things that are going on in my personal life, how I'm processing things that are going on in society. And my therapist actually made the suggestion. She called it backpack therapy, but you know, it's my backpack blower, man. I get that thing and bro, I zone out. Bro, I feel so good, man. You know, with that backpack blower, and then, you know, particularly after I cut my grass and my grass is looking nice, and I just kind of stand back and admire the work and the battle against nature and the grass and the soil and fighting all that stuff. It is very gratifying for me because it does allow me to escape from the things that I'm dealing with and how I'm feeling. And that's what I have used here within the last 5 years or so that has really helped me deal with some of the stress and anxiety and weight that I was carrying around. It has helped me out tremendously.
So just to let you know first, if you run out of your yard, I'll give you my address. You're welcome. Knock yourself out.
There's something real to that, though, Stu. There's something real to that, man. I mean, even though I grew up, you know, in the heart of New York, in urban areas you can get, I grew up around my mom growing stuff. Yeah, she's from the Virgin Islands. I think she might have pulled that from there. I can't see how else she got it. But she grew roses. She grew some little bit of fruits and some vegetables. And the garden was as urban as it can get. And she was out there growing stuff, and I was exposed to that. Now that we're here together, my wife and I are going into year 30 this year in a couple of months. And we have a garden in our backyard. We in the sub. We got a garden we had for almost 11 years back there. And we got almost anything you could think of. We've either grown it or we're growing it right now. And it's been going on for 10 years. That therapy thing with the garden is a real thing. Putting your hands in that dirt, it's a real thing, man. I ain't trying to get kooky and weird because that's totally opposite of who I am as a person. But there's something to it. I don't know how else to describe it in a non-kooky way. There's something to it.
I don't think it's
30 minutes in that time frame.
I don't think it's kooky at all.
No, I'm trying to avoid going to kooky land.
Okay.
Grounding. I'm not talking about any of that stuff because I don't understand that enough to even talk about it eloquently. So walking around barefoot, I'm not doing that. Okay, I'm not gonna walk outside the garden barefoot. We're not doing that today. Okay, there's slugs out there, there's bees, there's fire ants. We're not doing that part. I'm just talking about put my hands in the dirt for 15, 30 minutes, growing, adding some seeds, digging stuff up.
Yeah.
I forget all about my troubles for that time I'm in that space. So it's true. Right. It's something to that, man. Gardening is definitely a real thing, man. Hey, Brent, Steve, Scott, sorry to cut you off. What you got, guys?
Scott, go ahead.
Brent. No, you started.
I didn't know I started, but okay. Actually, it's been a really frustrating several months for me because several of you guys know I've been dealing with some health issues that we're still trying to sort out. And my release has always been the same for years and years. It's my motorcycle or it's the weights. That's one of the two. If I need to just walk out and breathe and process things, I go to the iron or I go to my motorcycle. That's my options. That's where I go. And with health issues, I haven't been able to work out recently. And so the last several months, that's been difficult. And I blew the transmission on my motorcycle last season and haven't had the money. And so I don't got my motorcycle, but I've been working out. And then all of a sudden I started having health issues the last couple of months and I haven't been able to work out. So my two big, that is my wife has walked up to me before and just put my helmet in my hands and be like, get on your bike and go away. Right. She knows when I need to just work through it and process stuff and let go, because there's just something really honest about the road. When you're on a motorcycle, you have to be very present or you die. It's just a very fact of life. It's one of the truths about working out. You have to be very present in your workout when you lift heavy weights or you die, right? You can't avoid the distractions. Both of them force you to kind of be in the moment and present with what you're doing, which I think for a lot of guys is something we struggle with when we're trying to deal with our emotional life, because there's so many things already fighting for our attention. There's so many distractions, so many responsibilities. I mean, even good things, right? Our families, our responsibilities, taking care of our things like that. They're not bad things, but a lot of times we use them as a way to not deal with stuff. And so you've got to find those couple things. And you know what? I can't grow anything. I have the black thumb of death. But no, seriously, my mom can grow anything. I kill cactuses. But respect to Steve, because I know a lot. Like my dad, that was a huge thing for him. My dad would get out and mow the lawn and work on his yard, and man, that was just worlds of release for him. So every man's got to find that thing. For me, like I said, it's just been lifting for years, because there's just a reality there. When you're lifting weights, it's you and the weights, and they don't lie to you. They don't tell you stuff to make you feel better. Seriously, it's the best therapy. Yeah. The weight doesn't lie to you. It doesn't stroke your ego. It's not like, oh, but you were so close. It's like, no, you didn't bring it today. There's a truth. There's a bold honesty. You either came ready to work or you didn't. You had it or you don't. It's that simple. You put in the effort or you've been dogging it and you haven't really been putting effort. And the weight's like, you suck today, dude. And it's freeing, because we live in a world where we talked about previously. Oh, I'm great, right? We live in a world without a lot of honesty a lot of times when it comes to that kind of stuff. And so that's always been freeing to me, and so that's been a really big frustration. But I know men particularly need a hands-on hobby, psychologically. I've read the research. We're talking about 40 to 60% anxiety and stress reduction just having a hands-on hobby in which you partake of 2.5 hours a week. Something like it could be whittling, woodworking, anything where you use your hands specifically. Other hobbies are okay too, but anything where you use your hands. It can be an instrument, it can be gardening. 40 to 70% reduction in stress, dude, is crazy. Depending on I need
you to say fantasy football. I need you to just add that to your list of things. Just if you could do me a favor and add fantasy football to that. That would be a validation of everything that I believe in life. If you could just go ahead and add that, that'd be great. I'm doing it with my hands. I'm thinking. I'm analyzing. I'm staying sharp.
Yeah.
Being observant. I mean, that should fall in line with your list. No, that's good, right?
I love you too much to lie to you, bro.
Come on, man. It's right there with everything else. It's the same thing.
Come on, you're like 56, right? Go play football.
I'm retired.
It doesn't
I'm
mean you can't
retired from that kind of activity. I'm retired from that kind of activity. I have to be retired.
Oh, that
I
sucks.
know myself. I'm gonna go out here and try to school these young boys and end up hurting myself. That's what happened. I'm not stupid. I know what's gonna happen. So we're not doing that. Good friend of mine dropped a comment in here from the Great White North. My guy Nathan said, "Man, all I can think about as you were speaking, I don't mind sharing emotion if we're going to find a solution." I heard that, and he followed up by saying, "Yet if we are not fixing it, I need to process." Thank you, Nathan. Good to see you, brother. Yeah.
Sometimes that solution, the first solution is just actually getting it out loud and being honest about it. Like for solutions for fixing things, sometimes you have to be honest and admit them first before you can even start down the road to solution. But Scott, what you got?
Yeah, for me, I honestly, a lot like Steve, I was teasing about coming over to my yard, but not so much yard work or working in the garden, though sometimes I do that, but getting outside, going for a walk, sitting in the backyard, with a cup of coffee, watching the chickens, that kind of thing. We've got 3 chickens in the backyard. I jokingly tell my wife they're my chicken army because, I'm the one that feeds them. I'm the one that waters them. I'm the one that gives them snacks. So whenever I walk out in the backyard, they come running. They're like, "Hey," it's very validating. Okay,
It's all good, man. I'm just visualizing it like
the dog loves her more. Okay, give me the chickens.
As long as I've known you, Scott, I never thought of you as the chicken whisperers. Matter of fact, we didn't have a discussion about it whatsoever.
Just animals in general. Spend time with the dog. Spend time with the chickens. Spend time. When I go for a walk, I judge the walk by how many dogs I get to pet. If I got to pet a dog, it was a good walk. That kind of thing. And yeah, I'll visit with the owner too. And yes, I actually know their names. I mean, come on. But it's just getting out of your environment and your circle and getting into a place where you see something else, you see nature, there's trees around, there's grass around. That the old expression, go touch grass, there's some truth to that. It's like, get out there and go see the sun for a little while. Now, maybe not in the middle of the day if you live where I live, but I get up early in the morning and go for a walk, and I go out in the evening and go for a walk, that kind of thing. So it's just getting out of your environment. I think all too often we set ourselves, I can spend all day, every day right here in front of this computer. It doesn't do me any good. I need to get off of it sometimes because so much of my work, so much of everything else I do is through that little lens right up there. Yeah. And remembering that, oh, wow, there's this whole world out here with people and animals and sunrises and flowers and all of those things are out here too. Helps me just get back in touch with reality and what the real world is and why I'm working here and staring for the screen. What's actually important: my wife, my kids, my family, my friends, that stuff. Otherwise I forget.
Yeah, I would tag on to that, and it's kind of the opposite for me. Like, I have to be told to come inside because I would stay outside all day. And just disconnect for a while. No social media, no internet, just me and my thoughts and podcasts or listening to music and touching dirt. Now, after I touch dirt for that extended period of time, I go to massage therapy because I'm getting to the age and I wake up every day in pain, and we're talking about the part of us that people don't get a chance to see. Is dealing with the chronic pain that I deal with. I don't walk around with with pain face, but I'm hurting. And as much as I enjoy being in my yard, I know there are limitations to the things I can and can't do. And about every 2 weeks, I go see my massage therapist, and they tune me up and get me back right so I can get back in my yard doing what I enjoy doing. So embracing massage therapy was probably in combination with the yard therapy or the backpack therapy, as my counselor tells me, it helps balance me out, and my body lets me know when I've done too much. And then when the massage therapist starts to working, she knows right away when I've overextended myself, and she chastises me, Mr. Maynard, you can't, you're not 25 anymore. Your whole left side is out of tune. And I'm like, yeah, I got it. So I just want to bring that back in as well to kind of balance what I said about how much time I enjoy spending in my yard, but also going to treatment and getting help for that chronic pain that I'm constantly dealing with.
So what happens when you guys can't release as it was? There has to be some times when that happens.
Yeah.
What tell us, give us a view of what gets released when you guys can't release. if that makes sense. What comes out? Who we seeing if we was in your vicinity when you couldn't release? What kind of symptoms are we seeing? What kind of traits are we seeing?
Hey, we swing back around and follow up on something Steve said.
You can do it now if you want, and answer the question afterwards. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I just that was too good to just let that totally slide by, because I'm with Steve. I actually have chronic pain. I have for years. I broke my back for the first time back in 2004, I think, or 2005. So I've dealt with chronic pain for a lot of years at this point, and the health issues I've been facing recently have brought even more pain on top of that. And I was just thinking, as he was saying, talking about, how bad it hurts and you don't see it. Like I have to do all these public appearances and stuff, and no one sees the amount of Advil or Tylenol I'm taking beforehand, or the shot of whiskey that I took it with to speed that up a little bit because I didn't got time for it to kick in, or how bad it hurts for me to stand up and get out of this chair after we finish the show. Right. We're honing in on the hidden emotional life. And I think we don't necessarily relate that emotionally because it's a physical thing, right? We're in pain, and men aren't allowed to be in pain or show that they're in pain because that's weakness. But that there's an emotional side of that we don't address in that fact, right? If you have chronic pain, if you have some kind of injury, or if you have anything like that that's inhibiting the way you move or whatever, there's an emotional turmoil to that we keep hidden, right? We want to keep the physical pain hidden because we don't want to look weak, right? We're like, oh no, can't have that young guy thinking that I'm a little weaker than I am and he might be able to best me or something. Always got to, oh yeah, no, I can take them. Like you walk in the room, you're like sizing up everybody because we all do that. But there's an emotional side to that, an emotional vulnerability that comes with that we don't often face when we start getting, because all of us are a little bit older, a little bit farther along in our lives than some of the guys who might be listening, right? And you rack up those injuries. If you lived a full life, you rack up the injuries, and that starts catching up. And so sooner or later, a lot of guys are dealing with some kind of chronic pain. That might be a football injury, right? You might have like toasted your knee or a shoulder or something playing football in school, and that doesn't catch up to you when you're 17 and playing in high school. That catches up to you when you're 53 and your kids are teenagers and you're trying to throw the ball with them, and all of a sudden it's like, that hurts to try and throw that ball, but you got to do it, right? So we don't think about it at the time, but there's an emotional toll that comes with that we don't talk about. I don't get up from these kind of where I've been sitting all day out of my chair and be like, wow, I feel so blah because it hurts so bad to try and move. And man, you have no idea what that does to me emotionally, to feel that weakness, to feel like I can't do what I used to. We're afraid of those conversations. And I'll be the first one to say, I'm afraid of those conversations, right? I'm afraid of not being able to physically do the things I need to do or feel like I'm supposed to be able to do as a guy. And so we're terrified of those because that pain, anytime, whether it's like Steve and I, where it's everyday pain and it's chronic pain, or whether it's the occasional pain, like, you tore something up. And so when the weather gets a little cold or a little damp, you start to feel it, right? It starts to catch up, or just that repetitive use injury of the guy who's been working the line for 30 years at a production facility, right? And he's got that chronic use injury. It tolls big, and we don't want to talk about that because we just want to blow it off as the physical part. We don't want to deal with the mental and emotional part that comes with that. I think that's a whole can of worms we could go really deep down, whether we do it today or another day. Now you were saying, what happens? Well, that's in my situation, right? I can't lift right now, and I can't ride my motorcycle because it broke down. And I am having to try and find creative ways to find some kind of release, because I know the stress levels are up, the anxiety's up, right? I look at my weight implements. My backyard looks like a strongman's gym, right? I got 5 different sizes of tires. I've got a full size yoke out there. I've got 2 different sizes of log bars, and my backyard is a weight room. And I look out there when I let my dog out to go to the bathroom, and like it stresses me out and pulls me down emotionally to look at that stuff. I'm looking at spider webs built up on them because I haven't been lifting, right? And that like emotionally and mentally starts to hurt me because I'm like, I suck. I'm not lifting, right? I know right now it's not a really practical thing for me to do it. In fact, I'm risking bigger injury until I understand what's causing the damage. But my ego and my emotions are going, get out there, bitch. Right? I won't say that in air, but like that's what I'm hearing in my head is
you can't go out there, man.
Right. And I know, right. That's thing logically, intellectually, I know I am putting myself at a bigger risk if I do go out there and could do some real damage that could cost my family much bigger until I at least understand the cause of everything. Right. And then once I do, I can work on rehab. It wouldn't be the first time I rehabbed a torn rotator cuff on my own. I've rehabbed several injuries. That doesn't scare me. I just got to get it down first. But I still look at it and it beats me up. So now I'm having to try and find those creative ways. Like, how do I vent this? I can't go riding. I can't go lifting. And this has been my only out for years. So now I'm having to explore those things, right? What can I do?
I like that. I want to go a little bit deeper. Sarah's not on here right now, so I can't ask her this question. Is she seeing an irritable old man right now? Is she seeing somebody who talks, whose words sound bitter and harsh? I mean, because I'm not trying to get onto your life and turn into a reality series. That's not what I'm trying to do. I want to highlight this so that people who are watching this and can know, what, these are signs that we're dealing with some emotional instability, if you will. And it's not something for us to hide, for me to address it. Somebody mentioned this earlier on the show. I can't recall who it was of you guys that said it, but we need to address that stuff and look at it face on, head on, and not avoid it. Is she seeing that kind of stuff because you're not able to do what you need to be doing and you're frustrated with it? Is she seeing that kind of stuff too?
I definitely say that it is making me more quick-tempered than I normally am. I'm generally a fairly temperate guy. It takes a lot to push me to be short-tempered and angry.
Yeah.
And so I would say that I have to like focus and breathe more. Like I purposely slowed down my responses to everything because I'm a quick thinker. Everybody thinks at different speeds, not right or wrong. Just everybody thinks at different speeds. I'm very quick with my thought processes. I zip through things. I don't have to have very long to process things to run through the whole gambit in my head. And so, but because of that, I answer things pretty quickly, as you can tell. But I've had to slow down my responses at home when I'm dealing with my family and when I'm dealing with other people, because the frustration of not being able to do those things, coupled with more pain on top of my chronic pain, is definitely affecting my temperament and how quick that gets the best of me.
Yeah.
And how much things bother me. So I'm having to be very conscientious about that because I know that I'm in a compromised situation on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Thank you. Makes perfect sense. Stu, Scott, how about you guys? When you can't release like you normally are accustomed to, what's coming out? What are you guys seeing?
I go quiet.
Okay.
I'm going to withdraw from everybody. I'm going to go in my room, lock myself in my room, close the door, get away from everybody. Go inside my own head, go inside my own mind, which is not a really healthy place for me to hang out sometimes. And I don't want to talk. And it's because, from anger has been a problem for me. There's been periods in my life where I was the angry, yelly guy, and I don't want to be that guy anymore. So my solution to that is to go silent and go away. Unfortunately, that's not healthy for me either. I tend to spiral, and it traps me there. So luckily I've now I've given permission to some people to speak it out, tell me that. But me, man, yeah, I go quiet. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to be around anybody. I don't want to see anybody. But like I said, I have to be real careful because I'll spiral. I'll stay there way longer than I need to stay there if I don't. If I don't allow other people like my wife, my son, that kind of phone to reach in and go, wait a minute, what are you doing? Let's go for a walk. Let's talk. Let's do something, and get me out of it.
Yeah, I would say for me, when I can't get outside and be on the grass or in the yard, writing has been therapeutic for me. I've always enjoyed writing, but I didn't use writing as like a therapeutic form of getting my stress and my anxiety down. And again, therapy helped me realize that all of these thoughts that I have going on in my head all the time, that I can't sleep because I'm constantly thinking, and the little hamster, on the wheel up there is just going all night. And my therapist suggested writing my thoughts down so that they're out of my head and on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Then I found myself sleeping a little bit better because I'm not thinking about all of that stuff. I have it written down. I kind of channeled that into, writing articles, writing chapters, and contributing to books, or just writing, period. Instead of responding to the first thing that happens in society, think about it. I start researching and reading, and then after I've collected my thoughts, got several perspectives about that thing, then I'll write about my thoughts, which is how I started writing a blog, over 15 years ago. And the blog title was Stu Thinks, because Stu thinks before he opines. So if you're reading what I wrote, know that it wasn't off of an instant reaction. It was after careful consideration and seeing that thing from multiple points of view before I offer my opinion to the situation.
Yeah, I know people avoid, I just say people. I don't know if it's a man or woman thing. I just say people. We avoid using the word depression in situations like this because I guess in our minds, that's so much worse than what we're dealing with. And I'm like, man, it's depression's first cousin. It's not that far off. A lot of the tragic stories that we've heard about, they start with this. That's why I want to talk about it, because it starts with this.
Mm.
This is exactly where it starts. I know this for sure. There was a time, and I don't want to not any identifiers or anything, but I was working with the government. I've shared stories about that situation many times. Great relationships that I've grown. A lot of learning lessons for me more than anything during that decade there doing that. But there were times, man, where I sat in the driveway of that place and the driveway of my house concurrently after work. You know how it is. 4:58, people already got one foot out of the door in the elevator already. They're not even waiting until 5 o'clock a lot of the times. My watch says 5 o'clock and they're gone. I'm sitting in the driveway on the base, on the facility, for like 10 minutes sitting there where everybody's speeding out of there, wheels squealing because they can't wait to get off of the job. I'm sitting here like, what's happening to my life? I'm hating what I'm doing here, and I'm starting to hate myself for continuing to keep doing it. So I take that long ride, it was about 30 minutes, almost 45 to get home from there. Then I was sitting in my driveway at the house and have similar thoughts like that before I walk inside the house, before I put the key in the door. I'm like, you know what? My wife and daughter don't deserve what's getting ready to be unleashed. Lord, help me get this straight in my head before I walk through the door. I don't want to be faking because my wife can see through that. She knows me. It's my best friend. She knows everything about me. But I don't want to walk inside of here and relieve my pressure on everybody else. So there's been times, man, where I feel like that can go a lot of different ways. People who we know have had moments just like that. Thankfully, I walked out of mine with a different perspective, but they devolved into something much deeper. And a lot of you guys know how it's ended. You got stories. You've shared the stories on this show about how that's ended. So I guess I'm putting it out there because I'm just trying to be authentic and transparent for no reason. I'm putting it out there because depression is like, that's something that it's a real thing. I never associated myself with that in any way, shape, or form. I took pills. I was going to take pills and never said, you know what, this is depression. I avoided that word like the plague. I thought it was so bad, but I was like, dude, it's 0.5 miles from where you're at right now. It's not that far away from where you are. It's not light years. It's not as far as Washington State is from Florida. It's not that far away from where you are. So I want guys that are watching, listen to understand that depression is a snap when you're dealing with anxiety and holding emotional stuff in and not feeling emotionally stable in your feelings. You're snapping at work. You're snapping on the missus. You're snapping at the kids. You're snapping at the dog because, it's like that's not so far off. You know what I mean? Am I making sense?
Sometimes for guys, it's easier to be angry than be depressed. And what I mean by that is we'll go to that snappy place because we're depressed, but we don't want to admit that we're depressed. But if I'm angry, that's an acceptable state as a man. You know what I mean? That's okay. Men are allowed to be mad, but men aren't allowed to be depressed. So I'll turn into a jerk and start snapping at everybody around me because I am depressed and don't want to admit it, So, wow. Yeah. And that's what I was talking about when I said spiral. I mean, I'll name it. If I lock myself in my room and start spiraling like that, I go to true full-blown clinical depression, and I know where that road ends. I don't want to go there. I've been down that road before, and I'm not going down that road ever again. So I've got to allow other people and therapists and all of that stuff to speak into that whenever that happens.
Mm-hmm. This is wild. This is wild to me, man. I don't know where you guys are with this, but there's so much survival mode embedded in all of this talk that we're having right now. People are just trying to just make it to the next day, make it to the next one. It's like, wow, there's just so much more to life than what we've been allowing ourselves to experience. And I tell you guys all the time, and I don't know if you're tired of hearing about it now, but I just see so many great things in you guys, far beyond what you're even doing right now. I'm like, you know what? I know you might be like, you know what? Hey, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm settled in. I probably won't change, and I just beg to differ, man. I mean, because my change was dramatic, and it's like if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. That's how I view it. Because I was a straight up crazy Brooklyn kid for real. You know what I'm saying? And then to become #girl dad and doing that thing diligently and faithfully, not perfectly at all, but diligent and faithful with it, and being a husband of one wife and not out here doing what I grew up seeing, that's a dramatic change that I can't unsee that, man. When I see that concept, I'm like, if that can happen to me, there's nobody on this call or in the comment sections watching this show that can't undergo dramatic change, and you ain't got to pay nobody to get you that change either. You got to take a pill to make it happen either. There's other ways, but it definitely is possible for you. So when I see that concept, I'm like, man, we got to just protect ourselves and protect each other, man. Be careful out here with that, and look out for each other, man. Because we talk about masculinity all the time. We talk about, hiding behind humor and being exhausted emotionally. The whole mental health piece, bro.
I think Brett said it earlier, the part about acknowledgement and telling yourself that you're having these issues. Being in denial is a coping mechanism, and people are in denial for a number of reasons. But if you could get to the point of acknowledging I have a problem, that's the first step before you see anybody else. You got to know within yourself that you have a problem. Now, once the problem is identified, what are you going to do about it? You can't just sit with it and say, I got a problem. Kind of like, a pig is in a pig pen and they're nasty and muddy. Right. A pig enjoys being in the muck, in the mire, in the mud, because that's part of their nature, right? But being in depression or having depression or going down that road could be the same way. I'm messed up. I'm messed up. I'm messed up. Right. So now that you acknowledge that you've messed up, being willing to get some help and to change is a big part of the maturing process, because we all know things or people or institutions that refuse to change will get left behind. It doesn't end well. Humans evolve and change all the time. And it doesn't mean you have to be a different person. It just means you need to make adjustments to how you are when you see character flaws about yourself that you don't like or is having a negative impact on other people. You got to be willing to change if you value those relationships. And that's not an easy thing to do. Yeah. But I've experienced it, and when confronted with some things that have been problematic about myself, I need to be willing to say, okay, if that's a problem, then I need to fix whatever that is, because it is having an impact on this relationship, this friendship, this job. So that's kind of how I would tie all of that stuff together.
Yeah. Well, what Scott was saying about sometimes it's easier for men to go to anger over recognizing depression, or right. We fall back to what we understand.
Yep.
And as men, raised as men, what are the three emotions we actually recognize as men? We recognize anger, we recognize happiness, or what we think is happiness, and we recognize sadness, extreme sadness. Those are the three emotions that we are actually likely to experience and recognize and put a name to throughout our life as we're raised as men. Men are not generally taught emotional language or how to name and recognize other emotions. It's one of the reasons that men think they're emotionless a lot of times, is we're not ever actually taught how to name and identify those emotions, or what they actually feel like, what that feeling you're getting. So we move it to the closest comfortable thing we can actually recognize. And that's why for men, a lot of it comes out as anger, whether it's depression or stress or anxiety or whatever emotion you're actually dealing with. Clinically, that is why most men go towards anger. That's the one emotion we know we're comfortable with, because we might have a negative or positive feedback if we get angry. But as men, we're taught if we get sad, we're going to have a negative emotional feedback from the people around us, because we're not allowed to be sad, because that's vulnerability. We're compromised, right? We're not men if we're sad. That's the kind of nonsense we're given. And so we've had negative responses when we express sadness in our lives. We get picked on, we get made fun of, we get teased, right? When we're sad.
Yeah.
So we learn very early on that that's not an acceptable way to do it.
Hide that
Whereas
one.
with anger is a double-edged sword. Sometimes we get a positive response to anger, right? Sometimes we get a negative response to anger. It depends on the situation, but we know as men it's 50-50 chance. And so men go to, well, this is the emotion I'm comfortable with. It's the one I know how to name. And so this is where I'm going because it's a 50-50 chance of how it's going to turn out. And so that is actually psychologically why we go there. Or it's the catch-all. It's safe. It's the one we understand. We understand anger, but we were never given the emotional language and understanding to identify the rest of the experiences and emotions we get. It's not the men don't have them. It's we're never taught about them or how to do them. And if somebody tries, they get made fun of. We get made fun of. If we try and be emotional and deal with those things, we get picked on. And so that gets shut down pretty early in our childhood development and young adult development as men. So that's where we go with it. And it goes back to what Steve was saying, right? We have these, we need to process them. We need to find the way to process them. We have to acknowledge them. But if we were never taught, this is one of the uphill battles with talking to other men, right? Is the majority of men that we talk to, a lot of us have worked on ourselves to get to the point we're at right now in this moment, in this conversation. But a lot of the brothers we talk to every single day were never taught they have a full emotional range. They were not taught what that looks like, what that feels like. No one sat down with them and asked them questions like, well, what are you feeling? Can you describe it to me? How does that make you feel? Does that make you hotter or colder? Right. I've sat down and had all these conversations with my daughters because I want my daughters to understand the difference in what they're feeling. And when they were little, especially when they were little, right? They're teenagers now, but when they were little, that was one of the things we did is we talked through their emotions when they were experiencing them to help them understand what they were feeling, what it felt like, how to recognize it, how to name it so they could process it. And since we're not taught that, right? As Steve was saying, we can't put the name on it. We can't identify it. We can't bring it to the forefront. How are we supposed to deal with it up front?
Yeah.
I think that's an important part of what we're doing here is letting men know that it's okay to be emotional. It's not okay to respond and have instant gratifications to feeling those emotions, but it is okay to be angry. It's okay to be mad.
Sure.
But it's not okay to make an impulsive decision to satisfy the emotion of being mad. And that's the key to what I think we're trying to do here is that lack of teaching kids at an early age, especially young boys, the emotional wheel and helping them identify the various emotions that they may come into at some point in their life. It's okay to have those things and we can talk about them.
Yeah.
But please don't make an impulsive decision because you're angry, sad, and don't make an impulsive decision at the height of happiness either. Either extreme can be really dangerous if you don't take time to kind of process what these emotions are and channel them into doing something productive or not doing something that's going to be destructive.
Yusuf was talking about the word depression. It took me years to learn that I had difficulties with depression. Like a clinical person told me, like, you're suffering from depression. I'm like, what's that? I had no idea I was depressed. I was like, well, thanks for letting me know, doc. Like, I didn't know what to do with that. I hadn't been taught what that was. Right? I think a lot of men don't understand that that's what they're feeling.
Well, and I think you're right too, that a lot of it's just the vocabulary. You know, we don't have the vocabulary, internal or external vocabulary to talk about it and describe what we feel. You know, I know I'm not happy. And like you said, sad's dangerous. So I must be mad, you know, and that's kind of, I mean, that's it. That's all that's left. Right. I'm angry. But when you start to understand, you know, what anxiety feels like, what nervousness feels like, you know, honestly, this ties right back to the beginning. Mr. You were talking about the people that ghost you and kind of don't come in. I bet you some of that is because they get some of these unprocessed feelings that you're talking about, like anxiety or nervousness, and they don't know what name to put on it.
Yeah.
You know, and so they don't know how to acknowledge, oh yeah, I'm going to be nervous because I'm on a live stream in front of whoever's watching and it's going to live out there on the internet for the rest of my life. Yeah, of course people ask me that all the time. When you get up and do, Brett, you do that. You go do an appearance. People are like, do you get nervous? Well, yeah, but it's not like that's the end of the world. You just, you learn to acknowledge it and do it anyway, or whatever, whatever emotion you're feeling. But I don't think a lot of times we give men the vocabulary or the wherewithal to name it and deal with it, whatever it is, whether it's nervousness, anxiety, excitement. We name it different things, and we hide from it because we don't have a name for it.
I don't know if there is any such thing. I want to ask a question. Is there a role that we are currently playing? I don't mean that in terms of being like an actor. Word choice, so forgive me for that. But is there a role that we're actually engaged in that's draining us internally and emotionally? Because if there is one, I'd like to know from you guys, are we still holding on to that role? Are we shedding it? Do we feel like we can't? What's happening there? So I guess it's a kind of a two-part question. Is there a role that we're playing that's kind of draining us emotionally? And if so, what is our response to it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a complicated set of questions. And listening to Brett and Scott and yourself, I would say a lot of this is self-induced. It's self-induced pressure. Like it starts internally. Nobody is putting pressure on me to do all of these things that I think I need and supposed to do. I did that to myself. And I needed help getting out of my own way and putting that kind of stress and pressure on myself. I don't know if it's the way we are naturally wired, but I can say for me, it was a lot of self pressure, because there was something behind the pressure to succeed, perform, take care of. That pressure, I took it on, and I took it on gladly. But at times I took on more than I probably should have been carrying. And I didn't have an outlet. Once I got the pack on my back, I'm like, well, I got it now. I got to carry this mug. Ain't no something in. Nobody gonna tap in and get the pack from me. I got to do what I got to do with it. But what I've learned over a period of time is don't put too much in the pack, and I don't have to worry about nobody helping me out of the scenario that I put myself into by putting all this pressure on myself. And I don't know if that's an answer to the questions, but that's kind of how I understood it.
Yeah, man. The whole depression conversation is funny. I was telling you guys, on the side, man, that I didn't know what depression. All I got was what I got through TV, cinema, media. That was my view of what depression looked like. And it was only one of two choices that was going on. One, you what they call a pill popper, and you're gonna be getting heavy meds, or you're getting fitted for a white jacket in a room with pads. That's pretty much it. So if you're depressed, it looks like one of those two things. So yeah, we're gonna avoid the idea of depression. But we don't want either one of those things. It wasn't normalized the way it needed to be, but yeah. But go ahead, guys, keep going. What we is there a role that we're engaged in that's kind of draining us? I mean, I feel like I know this is hard because, and maybe not for you guys, but I just kind of feel like I know that some people are doing things that they know, somebody as a man, they in roles and positions they know it's sapping the life out of them, but they're too scared to say, you know what, I gotta stop doing this. That job I was telling you about, the government job, it was taking care of the bacon and even allowing me to add some grits and eggs to it. It was working. And I said, and I was so stressed out. I drove to work one morning. didn't even know I was stressed. I wouldn't even think I would listen to the radio, listen to Sports Center, stuff like that on the radio. And I punctured a blood vessel in my eye. Where my employer said, "Mister, you look at your eye." I'm like, "What's wrong with my eye?" I went to the bathroom. It was totally red. Couldn't even see anything but red. And my wife said, "You need to quit." She told me to quit. I had no intention of turning down that check. She told me to quit. Because I was gnashing my teeth in bed. I was winding her up. I'm like, I was stressed and didn't even know it. So to me, I mean, you know, there's roles that we have that they're draining us, and it's not even a secret. We know it is. But sometimes we're afraid to even deal with it, or because we know it impacts other people as well. So that might not be about you guys. I'm just adding some layers to the question I already asked. Is there a role that is draining us that we need to address?
See,
how are you feeling on that?
On that thought, I just thought that was the standard. And that's that, right? We talked earlier about not having the vocabulary. I honestly have believed most of my life that what you just explained, that's normal. That is the normal. Anything less than that just means I ain't pulling my weight, right? Yeah, the man up, right? Scott put it in our chat. Yeah, the man up, right? That was my dad was actually sensitive. My father was a minister. My father was in touch with his emotions. He cried in movies and stuff. He never bought that whole manly man thing. So I didn't pick it up from him. It wasn't my dad who put this into my head. But to me, that wasn't unusual or unhealthy. That was the standard. That was just the standard I held myself up to. Man, 60, 70, 80-hour weeks, who cares? Stressing out all the time, frustrated all the time, blood vessels popping in my eyes. I thought that was like just, it happens. Like,
Yeah, I didn't.
What's wrong with it the first time it happened? I'm like, oh, that's weird looking. All right. Didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Like, to me, that was just this image in my head that meant I was doing my job as a man, as a husband, as a provider. I'm out there busting my butt, doing what is necessary to make sure I'm taking care of my family. And I feel like there's a lot of guys like me in that we look at that and don't go, oh, that's unhealthy. You know, our wives haven't kicked us in the head yet and been like, no, you got to stop. You're going to die. There's a reason there's a lot of guys who die in their 50s.
Yeah.
Punch the clock hardcore for 30, 40 years. They bust their butt and they drop dead at 50, or they get to the retirement. They get the magic number and die a year after they retire, right? Because their purpose is over. They have done their job and they no longer have a purpose and a mission, but they have done it and worked so hard for so many years that a lot of guys, that finish line comes really early because no one told us to take care of ourselves. No one said we have to eat right. We have to exercise. We got to spend time on our mental health. We got to spend time with our family. We got to touch grass. No one said that stuff to us growing up. Nobody. Not one in person. And there are a lot of men out there living under this right now, going to jobs they hate every day, going and having to sit in their driveway for 10 minutes just so they don't try and bring that trash home, doing things they hate, doing things that stress them out and drain the life out of them. So there's no joy left. It's just anger and depression. Because nobody ever told them that that's not right. That is not the standard. That's not real life. It's become our real lives. But that is not actually the expectation that is reasonable. That's just what's thrown on us.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's back to that media and marketing, right? You know, that's what the world tells us. That's what the movies tell you. That's what the society tells you. That's what culture tells you. You know, that's man up. That's what the expression is. That's what being a man is. Well, and it's not, I don't think any of us are saying it's about, you know, just randomly quit your job one day and now you'll be happy. But it is do the hard work to figure out what you really want and go work as hard as you're working at that thing that you hate that's killing you. to create the thing that isn't killing you. And about half the time we work harder at the thing that's killing us than we do to go create the life that wouldn't kill us, if that makes sense. And I think for me, that's where I was for decades. And then I finally looked up, and Mr. Youth, just like you, I kind of had my wife going, dude, I'd rather have you around than dead. So kind of, let's do something different. This ain't working. But it takes sometimes those moments like that, or a good coach, or a man, or hearing people like us talking on this to realize that is even possible, because everything tells you it's not.
We could easily do one of those things you see on Facebook, those give yourself a point for things, right?
Oh yeah.
Give yourself a point for one of these, right? The first time I had a kid call out because they had diarrhea, I was like, have you never heard of Imodium? But I mean, we go down that playlist, right? Who's gone to work with diarrhea here? Who's gone to work sick as a dog already? Who has puked up your guts at work? Who has injured yourself to where you should have gone to the hospital while at work, but you couldn't miss the time off? Who has gotten in a fight with their doctor over an injury because you couldn't afford to miss work? Right? And we're just on the early part of the physical stuff. We haven't even gotten to like mental health, emotional well-being. Who has gone multiple days without eating because you're busy working a double or a triple shift? I worked 20 hours in a single day. I worked 140 hours one week, right? Pushing on a hard deadline.
Yep.
I guarantee we could go through that list with this group of guys we got right here and all the men listening to this, and points just be flying up because that's what you do. Sorry, Steve, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I all the points were well received, and what I gathered from that is moderation and balance. You got to do what you got to do to provide for your family, but you can't do it to the extreme, and then it's gonna end up eventually taking you away from your family.
Mm-hmm.
That's the delicate balance in working smarter and harder and doing what you need to do, even though some job you're working may not be fulfilling and it may not be what you want to be doing, but it's paying the bills. But how much of that are you gonna tolerate before you pivot into doing something that can provide both? It can provide a way for you to take care of your family, and it can provide some fulfillment from within as well. And that's not an easy playbook, man.
No, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And it's so situational because where we came from and what we chose to get into career-wise is so different for all of us. And there's a lot of crap in the military that I absolutely did not enjoy and I put up with, but I knew that burden came with doing those jobs. Once I retired from the military and I had a choice, and I'm like, you know what? I could be making a lot more money doing some other things, but it don't fulfill me like teaching does. So, it was still hard for me to find the balance of how much teaching now am I going to accept? Because if I'm asked to teach an additional class every semester, I'm not saying no, because, my boss needs me to do that. And I found myself, getting right back into that same cycle of saying yes all the time. Again, putting more weight on my back and then struggling. And I'm like, dang, I just did it again. So, and I like sharing that kind of stuff because, again, it's easy for people to see titles and so-called success or people thriving, but they don't see the grind to get to that point. They don't see them late nights and long hours of doing the thing that we do. And I like to make sure people know it, it's some hard, gritty, dirty work that goes into getting to where you want to be. And that's okay. It's okay to do that, but you're just not going to start here and then in 2 weeks, you're going to be where you want to be. It takes time. It's a process, and it takes juggling some things. of overextending yourself and not overextending yourself. And I'm honestly still struggling with that.
Yeah.
Dang, man, ain't nobody, no response, because I mean, that's
no, man. I mean, you being transparent. This is heavy stuff, man.
Bro, it's real.
It's so simple to say, but it's so hard to do. You know, it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
And for me, it's always about just choose your heart. So it is hard to work at a job that is killing you for the rest of your life. It's also hard to create a life that's more like the life you want. So pick your heart. You know, they're both hard. But, you know, which heart do you want? You know, because at some point or another, you got to choose.
Yeah, and be reasonable about, you know, what you're picking, because if you pick your heart and it ain't making you no money, and you can't pay your bills, now you're going to be stressed out because you ain't got money to pay your bills.
You just have twice as many problems, because now you're, yeah,
you just shifted.
You got a financial problem and the other problem. So now,
that's exactly right. So
I also wanted to say, I think it's important too, Steve, what you said about it takes time, it's a process and all of that. You know, we wildly overestimate what we can get done in a day, but we wildly underestimate what we can get done in a year. You know, because we all think, right? We all make the to-do list for tomorrow that has 6,742 items on it. We're like, yeah, tomorrow's going to be the day. I'm going to knock them all off. It's like, no, you aren't. Shut up. You know, but at the same time, if you're able to do one little thing every single day, man, you can make tremendous progress in a year.
This is my check.
There you go. 6,742 things.
Wow.
I'm not gonna get all of this stuff done today, but you know what therapy taught me was to get it out of
your head.
Now I at least have it on paper, and I ain't laying in the bed tonight thinking about all of the stuff I wrote down. So again, I'm not just talking this stuff. I'm telling you, this is what has helped me relieve some of the stress and anxiety that I had put on myself for a long time, because I have a checklist for a checklist. Nobody told me to do that. That's just the way I think. That's the way I'm wired, you know.
I figured that thing out when I was like 6 years old. I'll just be honest about it. Been writing since I was 6 years old. It felt so good. I said, "Does everybody feel like this?" And the only time it didn't work was in 2020. The writing therapy, it was not working. I didn't feel better, and it scared the soul out of me. I'm like, I've been doing this since I was a little kid. How is this not working now? And if it wasn't for the fact that there was no radio, if there was radio back then, I would have never gotten the podcasting. That's how I got into podcasting, because there was no radio. That was my next step to try to find some peace and some solace in this crazy world that we were in almost 6 years ago. So I'm with you, brother. The writing, that journaling, it's not soft.
Nope.
It's not a female activity. It is therapeutic, because in your head, everything sounds real grand or real big or real scary in your head, but when it's on paper, demystifies the whole deal and takes the burden off you, man. So it's a real thing. Definitely highly recommended. All right, we're getting pretty close to closing the episode out. We got a question that just dropped in here for us. What are some examples of ways everyone decompresses and centers themselves after catching yourself taking on too much? Ooh, you missed the first part of our show, but it's all right though. We're gonna touch on it anyhow. All right, so we use this to in the broadcast. We got to answer these as quick as possible, please. We got like 5 minutes. Okay. Go ahead, Stu, Scott, Brent, real quick.
Yeah, I think we kind of said it all. You got to find what works for you to decompress. For me, it's doing yard work and going and getting therapeutic massage. And then when I can't get those things, I write. And that's how I decompress. And sometimes writing for me starts the stress over again because I got so much that I'm trying to write and get down. And then eventually I'll just take a deep breath and I'll stop and I'll go back outside and I'll sit and watch the birds and the squirrels and all the other wildlife that run around in my backyard. So it's all individual. You just got to find that thing that works for you.
For me, it's kind of a 3-pronged answer, but one of them, I can't really do that much anymore without, I got to start being creative there. But one is writing. I mentioned that. Gardening, not in the sense that's like Martha Stewart garden. It's not like that. It's just, it's different. But gardening is another one. And then the other one was working out, but I can't go to the gym like I was doing before. So I got to try to find creative ways to get that blood flowing. And I haven't really found a way to do that from home yet. So that part, one of those 3 is usually my therapy. Scott, Brett, it's on you, man. We're cutting.
For me, it's getting outside, getting around animals. I mentioned earlier I've got 3 chickens, and they follow me around the yard and talk. And I've talked to them, and they talk to me. I'm raising my chicken army. I'm going to take over the world one of these days.
Oh boy!
Same
thing took place here. Look what happened.
Yeah, just get outside, touch grass, find a time and a place to get out of the 4 walls and away from the computer, and that kind of thing is always a good thing for me.
Love it.
We already touched on right now. I'm kind of up creek without a paddle because I can't ride my motorcycle or lift right now with my health. My motorcycle broke down, but I try not to throw out really like advocate for unhealthy examples on the show. But our question guy, Tim, he actually he's a friend of mine. So I'll be honest, because he already knows the answer. For me, if I can't do those things, taking an hour and just sitting down and smoking a cigar in my backyard, like fully, because if I light a cigar, I'm smoking the whole thing. Like I don't buy cheap cigars. I'm going to enjoy my cigar. And if I light one, is a guaranteed it's going to burn an hour. So, but that is one of the things I actually use to moderate myself, because I know if I light one, I'm not going to waste it. And as a guaranteed, I'm checking out for an hour. I'm turning off all electronics. I'm sitting outside. I'm smoking a cigar. I'm sipping a little bourbon and just chilling. And it forces me to walk away from everything and just be there for an hour. Now, I wouldn't advocate for unhealthy habits for anybody else. That's my own health. I know it's bad for me. So don't follow my example necessarily, but just in full transparency, that's one of my go-tos.
All right.
I would say encourage the
Dude, hurry up.
Check this out. You got to find other ways other than lifting to get that fix in. And body weight is just as effective as lifting.
I ain't worried about lifting. I'm just talking about exercise that I can do from home. Yeah,
I got you.
The lifting part, I'm past trying to pump up.
I got a routine. I got a routine for you.
Send it to me. I'm open to try.
I need to show you. I need to tell you to do it.
Given the way he's laughing, I want to see the video.
On the next Men's Roundtable podcast.
Given the way he's laughing, I feel like I don't think I want to do this thing that he's talking about. Given the way he's laughing right now, I mean, crying, laughing, this is probably not good for me, my body, or my soul. So I don't know about this, man. But thank you guys for jumping in here and being a part of the conversation. All of our commenters tonight. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hope it's not your last time. This is the Men's Roundtable Series podcast. Husbands, fathers, brothers, and sons in a safe space where we talk about issues that are germane to men, and we are growing and we're spreading it. And it's a blessing, and you guys are a big part of it. So thanks for what you do. We're out of here, guys. Have a good one.